She hypnotized a demigod who was an expert at hypnosis. She betrayed her own family to feed the poor. She walked into a war she had almost no chance of surviving. This is Audrey Hall, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why she's the most beloved character in Lord of Mysteries, even though she never had a single romance scene with our favorite Klein, the Fool. But before we get into how she defeated that demigod, let me tell you something crazy. Audrey wasn't even supposed to become powerful. She just wanted to see the supernatural, and her dog drank the potion before she did. Yeah, you heard that right. Let me explain. Audrey Hall was bored. She was 17, beautiful, rich beyond imagination, the youngest daughter of Earl Hall. She had everything a girl could want in 1349, except unknown. She'd been obsessed with the supernatural since childhood. She joined aristocratic circles that talked about mysticism, but nobody had real power. Just theories, just stories. Then one day, she found an antique bronze mirror in her father's collection. She held it up, chanted some words she'd read in an old book, and suddenly she wasn't in her room anymore. She was standing in a gray fog, endless, silent, terrifying. A man sat at the head of a bronze table. He wore an old-fashioned robe. His face was hidden in shadow. Next to her stood a rough-looking guy in his 30s. A sailor, Alger Wilson, the hanged man. The man in the fog called himself the Fool. And just like that, Audrey Hall joined the Tarot Club. She chose the codename Justice, because even then, before any power, before any training, she knew what she valued most. Fairness, truth, protection for those who couldn't protect themselves. Now here's where it gets interesting. Audrey wanted to become a Beyonder, but there was a problem. The churches would control her. Secret organizations would own her. She'd lose her freedom the moment she gained power. So she asked the Fool and the Hangman, how do I get power without becoming someone's puppet? Alger offered her a deal. He'd give her the Spectator potion formula if she could get him ghost shark blood. Easy. Her family vault had some. She traded, got the formula, prepared the potion in her private laboratory, silver liquid in a crystal cup. She was about to drink it when her maid knocked on the door. She left the room for 30 seconds. When she came back, the cup was empty on the floor, and her golden retriever Susie was licking her lips. Audrey stood there frozen. Her dog had just drunk a Beyonder potion. Susie blinked, tilted her head, and then spoke. Audrey, I can think now. Her dog could talk. Her dog could think. Audrey made another batch. This time she locked the door. And finally, she became a spectator. Sequence 9 of the visionary pathway. But here's what's important. From day one, Audrey had a partner. Susie wasn't just a pet anymore. She was an ally, a friend who could read minds just like Audrey could. And honestly, that moment set the tone for everything Audrey would become. She never walked the Beyonder path alone. She always fought for others, with others. Now, Audrey started as Sequence 9, weak, barely able to read emotions. But I mentioned earlier she hypnotized a demigod. As Sequence 4, someone 4 ranks above her. How did she do it? Hold that thought. Because first, you need to understand how Audrey changed from a naive girl into someone who could outsmart monsters. Every Tarot Club meeting started the same way. Good afternoon, Mr. Fool. That cheerful greeting, that bright energy. Audrey brought life to that mysterious gray fog. But then came the Great Smog of Bakerland. 21,000 people died in 3 days. Yellow poisonous fog rolled through the streets. People choked, collapsed, died in alleys while the rich locked themselves in their mansions. Another 40,000 died from the plague that came after. Audrey saw it all. She was a spectator now, a Sequence 8 telepathist. She could feel the terror in people's minds, the desperation, the rage. She realized something that day. The world wasn't a fairy tale. There was no prince coming to save anyone. And if you wanted to protect people, you needed power, real power. So she climbed. Spectator, telepathist, psychiatrist, hypnotist, Dreamwalker. Each sequence made her stronger, but also lonelier. Because the more she could see into people's minds, the more she understood how broken the world really was. Here's something crazy. Audrey owned £300,000 in assets. That's farmland, mines, property, stocks, bonds, jewelry. She earned £15,000 to £25,000 a year just from investments. She was one of the richest women in the kingdom, and she spent it all on the Tarot Club. Every member needed money for materials, for information, for bribes, for weapons. Klein needed funds for his missions. Alger needed supplies for his ship. Furs needed medicine. Audrey paid for everything. She was their patron saint, their benefactor, the reason the Tarot Club could even function. But she never acted superior, never held it over anyone. She just quietly funded a revolution for a bedroom. Now imagine being able to read minds at aristocratic parties. Audrey went to balls in beautiful dresses. Princes asked her to dance. Nobles tried to court her. And she could hear every single one of their real thoughts. The prince thinking about her body while complimenting her mind. The countess jealous of her beauty while smiling sweetly. The duke planning to use her family connections while pretending friendship. That fairy tale dream of finding true love, dead. But Audrey didn't become cynical. She became strategic. When someone tried to use her as a tool to show off, she didn't embarrass them. She said her skills needed more practice, protected their dignity, set boundaries. When Leonard Mitchell mocked Klein at a city hall meeting, Audrey kept perfect composure, smiled, stayed graceful. She mastered the game without losing herself. Then, Klein came to her with a mission: kill Ambassador Bakerland from the Intis Republic. Audrey hesitated. This could start a war between nations. But then Klein explained, Bakerland wasn't just a diplomat. He was supporting human trafficking, spreading disease, creating class warfare, all to help King George III become Sequence Zero true God. Audrey's answer: I'll do it. She attended a ball to get close to Bakerland. This old man was a creep. His eyes wandered. His comments were disgusting. His hands tried to touch her. Audrey smiled through it all, laughed at his jokes, danced with him, played the perfect noble lady. And while doing that, she read his mind, learned his weaknesses, his fears, his guard's abilities, his own power level. She gave Klein everything he needed to kill Bakerland successfully. Later, Klein told the Tarot Club about the mission's success. Audrey sat there quietly. Nobody knew she'd risked her life gathering that intelligence. Nobody knew she'd endured that old man's advances. She just smiled and said, "That's wonderful, Mr. Fool." Remember I told you Audrey hypnotized the demigod? Here's how it happened. Audrey joined the Psychology Alchemists, a secret organization of Spectator pathway beyonders. She climbed their ranks, learned their secrets, but one of their leaders, Hvin Rambis, got suspicious. Hvin was Sequence 4, a manipulator, a demigod who specialized in hypnosis and mind control. He tried to hypnotize Audrey multiple times, wanted to dig into her memories, find out her secrets, control her completely. But Audrey had help from Mr. Fool. She retained awareness. She knew she was being hypnotized. She just pretended to be controlled. Then she set a trap. Klein gave her a Fate Siphon charm, a mystical item made from a worm of time using the Fool's power. It could swap fates, reverse outcomes, exchange destinies. Hvin came to her room, ready to break into her mind completely. Audrey activated the charm. She siphoned his mind storm, redirected his hypnosis back at him, opened the door to his body of heart and mind. Hvin Rambis stood there frozen, a Sequence 4 demigod, an expert in hypnosis, controlled by a Sequence 6 psychiatrist. She had hypnotized someone who was literally a master of hypnosis. Later, Klein told her, "You hypnotized a demigod who's good at hypnotism. That's incredible." She kept him controlled long enough for Klein and the goddess's servant to capture him. They extracted secrets about King George, about the royal conspiracy, about plans to become a god. Audrey changed the course of history that day, and she was only Sequence 6. Being a Spectator pathway beyonder made Audrey an incredible psychiatrist. Remember Hazel? That poor girl's entire family got parasitized by Maud, the angel of time. Suddenly her mom, dad, brother, everyone wore monocles. They weren't themselves anymore. Hazel almost lost her mind. Audrey treated her, over and over. She went into Hazel's memories, helped her forget the trauma, restored her sanity, gave her peace. And Klein? Audrey was his personal therapist. Klein saw cosmic horrors, ancient evils, things that shatter minds. When he dreamed of the demoness of despair and those cursed mushrooms, when terror consumed him, Audrey guided him back to calm. When he saw ancient secrets behind the door and his mind nearly broke, Audrey helped him find meaning again. She never charged him money, only asked one thing: "Say to me, I wish you happiness." Later, Klein became king of Angel Too Fast. His humanity started slipping away. His divine side was overwhelming his human memories. Audrey risked everything, entered his consciousness, calmed his divine memories, awakened his human side. She brought Klein Moretti back from becoming a monster. Even after learning Klein was once just an ordinary person, Audrey never looked down on him. She respected him more. Think about what Klein did. As a mortal, he reduced casualties from the Great Smog, stopped King George from becoming an evil god, brought hope to thousands. Audrey saw every struggle, every sacrifice, every wound Klein carried, and she honored all of it. That's who Audrey was. She judged people by their character, their choices, not their origins. War came to the Lone Kingdom. Thousands of poor people lost their jobs. Food became scarce. People were starving in the streets. Audrey couldn't just watch from her mansion. She used her beyonder abilities to grow mushrooms, found every possible way to get people food. But it wasn't enough. The wealthy hoarded everything. Churches, the royal family, military, government, nobles, merchants. They kept their supplies locked away. So Audrey made an impossible choice. She betrayed her own social class. She knelt before her parents, said goodbye, then organized the poor, led protests, manipulated the masses psychologically to force the rich to give up their food. Imagine that. A girl born with every privilege, giving up her family, her status, her comfort, to feed strangers. When the God War came to Backland, Audrey made her final choice. She went to the battlefield. Remember, she was a Spectator pathway beyonder. These beyonders worked behind the scenes. as observers, manipulators, not fighters. She was only Sequence 5, a Dreamwalker. The battlefield was filled with demigods, saints, angels, beings that could erase her existence with a thought. But Audrey walked in anyway. She moved between soldiers, planted mental plagues in enemy minds, spread psychological warfare through entire battalions. She even fought a Sequence 3 Silver Knight in direct combat. She completely disregarded her own life, because the cause was bigger than her survival. The people needed her, and she answered. So why do readers call Audrey Hall the perfect character? She went from a bored rich girl fantasizing about supernatural to a demigod who fought gods. From someone who dreamed of princes to someone who created justice in a broken world. From shelter princess to a warrior who outsmarted demigods and led revolutions. She had everything: wealth, beauty, intelligence, power, and she used all of it to save everyone else. She funded a secret organization, healed broken minds, betrayed her family to feed the poor, walked into wars knowing she might die. But here's the real reason we love her. Audrey never lost her kindness. Every tarot club meeting still started the same way. Good afternoon, Mr. Fool. That cheerful greeting, that bright energy, that was still there. Even after everything she'd seen, everything she'd done, everything she'd lost. She grew from innocence to wisdom without losing her heart. She gained power without losing her soul. She chose justice, not the easy kind that looks good on paper, but the hard kind that costs you everything. In a story filled with gods, monsters, and cosmic horrors, Audrey Hall remained beautifully, powerfully human. She proved that being good in a cruel world isn't naive. It's the bravest thing you can possibly be, and that's why she'll always be the goddess readers never forget.